We'll look at Federalist number 60. This is part 1. With Federalist number 59, Publius answered the charges of anti-federalists that Clause 1 of the 4th section of Article 1, which says, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing senators. In Federalist 59, anti-federalists attacked the Constitution because they said this way the national government can actually do away with the states, take the role of states out of take states out of having anything to do with the time and place and the manner of elections for the federal government, and gradually accumulate power, centralize power, and do away with the states. Publius answered those charges. Here he'll continue answering additional charges regarding this clause, which is anti-federalists were saying that another thing that the national government under this Constitution can do is put the election districts in a way that gives advantage to the wealthy people. Almost like finding exactly where wealthy people lived and create a district there and let the wealthy people get elected and run the country. And Publius, he says, no, this is crazy for you all to even think that. This is such a vast country, and have you ever seen the way people are living right now? You just can't go and find a little area where all the wealthy people are and create a district that way. He says it's just not possible, especially because Americans are very watchful. They won't allow this to happen. So he says this is a crazy idea. Another thing that he tries to answer is that a lot of anti-federalists were saying that maybe people who are in commerce gradually are going to take over power and leave average people out. And Publius here says, well, we have a lot of land for a long, long time. People will be watchful because their interest is in having small farms, small pieces of land, and they'll elect people that will represent their interests. And these people who are going to be part of them are going to be landed people. They know, they are reasonable enough to know that if we want the country to prosper, commerce has got to have an important part. So it's not like where we can do away with commerce at all. But it's not going to be in a way that commercial interests is going to do away with other interests and sacrifice everybody else. This is not going to happen. Let me start reading the paper for you. I hope you've got your book or you're looking at the monitor and reading along with me. We have seen that an uncontrollable power over the elections to the federal government could not, without hazard, be committed to the state legislatures. This, in a way, is kind of reminding us that we looked at Federalist 59 already. Let us now see what would be the danger on the other side. That is, from confiding the ultimate right of regulating its own elections to the Union itself. It is not pretended that this right would ever be used for the exclusion of any state from its share in the representation. Remember, there's a lot of distrust of national government, and Publius here says, look, we've got separation of powers in this Constitution. States are going to be very powerful. There's only certain things that federal government can do, and even with that, federal government itself is in 3 branches. And you, people of America, people of different states, you can always elect people to make sure that one branch does not overpower other branches, does not overstep its bounds. It is not pretended that this right would ever be used for the exclusion of any state from its share in the representation. The interest of all would, in this respect at least, be the security of all. In other words, there's checks and balances. Our interests will make us make sure that different branches of government are keeping an eye on the other branches. But it is alleged that it might be employed in such a manner as to promote the election of some favorite class of men in exclusion of others. This favorite class of men, he means the wealthy people. By confining the places of election to particular districts and rendering it impracticable to the citizens at large to partake in the choice. Another thing they are accusing the Constitution enabling the federal government to do is to find a place to hold the election in where it'll be so far away from where people live that it'll just be hard for them to get there to vote. Remember, they are living in a time of horses and wagons and buggies and stuff like that. Of all chimerical suppositions, this seems to be the most chimerical. And Publius says, come on, people, this is the craziest thing that you've come up with. On the one hand, no rational calculation of probabilities would lead us to imagine that the disposition which a conduct so violent and extraordinary would imply could ever find its way into the national councils. And on the other, it may be concluded with certainty that if so improper a spirit should ever gain admittance into them, it would display itself in a form altogether different and far more decisive. The next paragraph, the improbability of the attempt may be satisfactorily inferred from this single reflection, that it could never be made without causing an immediate revolt of the great body of the people, headed and directed by the state governments. It is not difficult to conceive that this characteristic right of freedom may, in certain turbulent and factious seasons, be violated in respect to a particular class of citizens by a victorious majority, but that so fundamental a privilege in a country so situated and enlightened should be invaded to the prejudice of the great mass of the people by the deliberate policy of the government without occasioning a popular revolution is altogether inconceivable and incredible. So he's saying, give people some credit. If national government ever decides to use this Constitution to centralize power and at the same time put the government in the hands of one class of people, you American people are enlightened. You American people are used to freedom and cherishing your freedom. There will be another revolution. So he's criticizing anti-federalists and saying, you're not giving enough credit to the people of the United States. Their state governments will be watchful of the national government, will make sure that the national government does not overstep its bounds, and will constantly remind people remind people of what is happening. So here Publius is trying to say, give credit to American people. They will be watchful, they will be vigilant. All right, we'll come back in the next video and start with paragraph 3.